Well, I suppose I'd like to say Happy New Year, Happy 2013, but that today, of course, would be a lie. Hi, everybody. Jason Lewis here, America's Mr. Right, laying it on the line, and we are ready to go for another year. But I'm telling you, in the wake of perhaps the worst piece of legislation ever created, ever signed by both houses at the behest of the president, what do you think Washington is upset about today? I think this is so indicative. I think this is so symptomatic of a country addicted to the crack cocaine of dependency, of entitlement, of handouts. We have a bunch of money-grubbing, greedy Americans who know nothing of sacrifice, self-reliance, hard work, and yes, even in the face of disaster, picking yourself up. No, in the wake of the worst legislation in my lifetime, the fiscal cliff deal, that increases the progressivity of the tax code to punish success, that adds $4 trillion more to the national debt than otherwise would have occurred had we just gone off the cliff, that ends any hope for tax reform for now and the foreseeable future. What are they complaining about in Washington, D.C.? I kid you not. From Chris Christie to Peter King to Chuck Schumer to Representative Grimm, it doesn't matter who it is, they're complaining that the bill didn't spend enough money. Yeah, the big talk inside the Beltway is not the outrageous, phony debate on the fiscal cliff, the outrageous piece of legislation that is going to destroy the American economy. No, the real debate in Washington today is the outraged Peter King of New York. And let me tell you something. Until the Republican Party gets rid of the Peter Kings of New York, there will be no opposition party to big government. He's a big government Republican along with his Northeastern brethren. They don't care about debt. They don't care about taxes. They don't care about controlling spending. They care about getting reelected and reelected only. Period. You want to know what the crisis is in the GOP in the wake of this horrendous vote? For months, the GOP told us that we care about tax increases. We do not want taxes to go up on anybody. So naturally, on New Year's Day, they voted for a tax increase, the largest in 20 years and maybe the largest in a lifetime. This is an amazing capitulation. This is an amazing sign that there is no opposition party inside the Beltway. Yeah, they're complaining today that they did not get the $60 billion of relief, more taxpayer spending, for the beleaguered folks in the Northeast suffering under Hurricane Sandy. I kid you not. Nobody in the mainstream media, nobody in politics, Chris Christie comes to mind, Chuck Schumer, Peter King, no one is blasting Boehner for selling out. I wouldn't say Boehner. I mean, let's be honest. Boehner doesn't tell people what to do. We can ask them. Nobody blames the Republicans for selling out their principles. Of course, they have a fancy way of putting that. You know, former Republican Senator Norm Coleman of Minnesota said on the eve of the vote his party would be wise to position itself better by showing flexibility. Quote, standing on principle on the tax issue is not something that helps the country or helps move the issue forward. Compromise doesn't mean giving up on principle. It means finding some common ground. Well, Norm, boy, have we found common ground. The Republican Party has found common ground with the Democratic Party. There is no opposition party, except for those brave 8 senators that voted no, and the minority of Republicans who voted no on the fiscal cliff deal. They're actually livid today in Washington that aid, 60, 70, 80, 90 billion to the Northeast was not included in the spending bill, even though the bill that did pass increases spending. There were no cuts. Remember the talk of, well, we're going to have, for every dollar raised, we're going to have $2 or $3 in spending cuts? For every $41 in tax increases, we may get 50 cents in spending cuts, if there are any at all. The bill increases spending by at least $30 billion by extending unemployment benefits so people don't have to take any job. They can only take the job that they think they're suited to. Meanwhile, you pick up the tab. Chuck Schumer says, I will continue to push the feds to reimburse the city and state of New York for the full costs of repair and recovery from Hurricane Sandy for all aspects of the disaster. So it's no longer up to the citizens of New York, even though they enjoy federally subsidized flood insurance. Yeah, flood insurance already subsidized by you. pays up to $350,000 for residents and $500,000 for commercial claims. That's already subsidized by you. Even though that's there, that's not enough. Even though people can buy insurance, even though the state of New York has money, what Chuck Schumer and Chris Christie are saying is the federal government owes us. It owes us because a hurricane hit. And they should pay for all of the cleanup. And that's what we're really mad about. So we have kicked the can down the road. We have sold the country out. There is no opposition party. There is no principle left in America. We now have the specter of a tax rate in this country that goes from zero. And one of the things that they did in the fiscal cliff legislation was extend that zero rate to 50% of the taxpayers. There were about 50 tax credits that had the effect of taking people off the income tax rolls entirely. They, if they would have expired, would have required that people who live off the welfare state actually pay something. They, unfortunately, were extended. And the extension of those tax credits means that those in the bottom 50% of the income bracket will continue not to pay anything in income taxes. While those in the top, those above $300,000, no, it's not $450,000, as the media would have you believe. What happens once your business or your family starts to earn $300,000 is you start to lose exemptions, mortgage interest deduction. Pep and peas kick in, as they like to say. And your taxes will go up. And you add state onto that. You add the Medicare tax. You add the capital gains tax from Obamacare. And we're going to have a tax bracket in this country, a tax code that will go from zero for most of the citizens because politicians don't want them to pay any taxes so they can get reelected, to 60%. 60. The top federal rate will be anywhere from 42 to 43%. Then you're going to have a capital gains rate of 23.8%. Then you're going to have state and local taxes of anywhere from 8 to 10 to 12%. Then you're going to have local property. You're going to have a tax rate so high in this country that if you think anybody is going to engage in economic activity of any meaningful way in 2013, you are sadly mistaken. This is a total debacle. There is no silver lining in this. I have never been more America's Mr. Right when I've told you the last few months that we should have all gone off the fiscal cliff together. My taxes actually would have gone up more had we gone off the fiscal cliff. But I would rather have that and have some economic justice and have somebody lay down a marker for a fight. The president absolutely trounced the Republicans. They have no backbone. There is no opposition party. And if the argument is, well, we had to do it, otherwise we'd get blamed, then what they're telling you is we have to vote like Democrats in order to keep our position in office. What we need in America now more than ever is finally some group, some party who says, we don't care about the next election, even if that means losing. We are not going to vote with the opposition just to keep our jobs. And until that happens, friends, we are in a world of hurt, a big world of hurt. 1-855-885-3947. That's 1-855-88-LEWIS. This is the Jason Lewis Show. Back after this.